Amazon delivery service partners are hiring full-time delivery drivers to meet growing customer demand. Receive compensation of at least $20 per hour at select stations, plus benefits, and a sign-on bonus of $2,000 from participating DSPs if you apply now. No delivery experience required. Must be 21 years or older. Terms apply. Apply today at amazon.com/driver. That's amazon.com/driver.
Judy was boring.
Hello.
Then Judy discovered ChumbaCasino.com.
It's my little escape.
Now Judy's the life of the party.
Oh, baby, mama's bringing home the bacon.
Whoa, take it easy, Judy. The Chumba life is for everybody. So go to ChumbaCasino.com and play over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. ChumbaCasino.com. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
Hey y'all, my name is Marisha Malcolm and I am joined by the fabulous Abigail Franks. Groups all over the South are taking part in mutual aid, which is all about helping out and uplifting our communities, building care networks, and addressing systemic problems that our communities are facing day to day, such as food and water access, medical assistance, and disaster recovery. While most folks worry about is mutual aid charity, it's really about investing in relationships. We've brought in folks from Mississippi Rising Coalition to tell us all about building mutual aid networks from the ground up and how it can work as a solution for addressing folks' needs that current systems just aren't meeting.
Climate justice, y'all. It's real, it's here, and it's about time we listen to folks like Lea Campbell and Morris Mock. All right, let's get started with the show.
This is Climate Justice, Y'all, a podcast dedicated to lifting up and centering the climate and environmental justice movement in the South. Despite the South being the most biodiverse, diverse, and one of the largest economic engines in the world, we are underfunded and often barred from the decision-making table. Because of that, we decided to pull up a chair and amplify the stories of communities in the South that are hit the hardest by the climate crisis.
We're using good old-fashioned storytelling to shine a spotlight on these Southern leaders from all walks of life, putting in their blood, sweat, and tears to transform the region. The usage of y'all in the title is on purpose. We are honoring our Southern heritage of creativity, resilience, and ingenuity. Climate justice, y'all. It's real, it's here, and it's about time y'all hear what we have to say. All right, so first, we just want to thank y'all for coming on this episode with us. And we'll start off by having y'all introduce yourself and introducing the organization that you're representing. And how did you become passionate about what you do?
And that's like a loaded question, so if we need to go back, we can.
Who do you want to start?
Come on, you could, since you're already going.
Okay. Yeah, so thank you for having us. This is going to be fun. Been looking forward to it. My name is Lea Campbell. I am the founding president of Mississippi Rising Coalition. We are a multiracial, multi-generational community of Mississippi residents and allied organizations working to advance racial, economic, and climate justice in Mississippi. And we do that in many ways. Some of the strategies that we use are community organizing, of course, mutual aid, which we're here to talk about tonight, coalition building, direct action, policy advocacy. We cover a lot of ground with a small organization, but there's a lot of work to be done here in Mississippi, and we have a lot of amazing partners doing equally amazing work throughout the state. Oh, and the way I got into this work, it's kind of been a long and winding road, I would say. I'm born and raised in the South. I grew up in the northwest part of Florida and then went to college in Alabama, started my first career in healthcare in Louisiana. I was a physical therapist for 19 years, no longer practicing. No longer practicing. And that sort of leads into why I do the work that I do now, spending 19 years working in the capitalist for-profit healthcare system taught me a lot about the ways that racial capitalism maintains and upholds, the deep inequities that we still have here in the United States. And I honestly just got burned out working in the healthcare system. When the COVID pandemic began, I was working in the COVID unit in a hospital that I was working in at the time, and went through that initial wave of COVID, experiencing the mask shortages for healthcare workers, experiencing the ways that frontline workers were sacrificed. We just weren't prepared. Our capitalist healthcare system was just not prepared to protect patients or protect us as frontline healthcare workers. And that I got burnt out, and I decided it was time for me to leave. And it just so happened that I had founded Mississippi Rising Coalition a few years prior to that to work specifically on a removal of the Confederate emblem from our Mississippi state flag. We achieved that, but I kept the organization going and growing because there's more work to be done. And so I decided I'm just gonna leap off the cliff and join the organizing world full time. And that was about, 2023. So that was about 2020 when the first wave of COVID began. Yeah, so that's my story.
Hello, everyone. That's an awesome story, Leah. My name is Morris Mott, and I'm a worker organizer. So by saying that, I'm going to warn you in advance that as soon as I get off work, I have a lot of workers that will call my phone. So if I don't respond, my phone is going off. I'm just giving you heads up. My parents were both organizers, worker organizers, and also I'm the youngest son of a pig farmer. And being a pig farmer and slapping hogs and knocking on doors and farming and all of these things, it humbled us when you have to go to school and you have to knock on a classmate's door to get slop hogs, but we weren't hungry, right? But I learned a lot through my dad, through my family about labor organizing and the oppressed work state in the state of Mississippi. There's a lot of worker oppression throughout the state of Mississippi. And what we're doing with mutual aid, a lot of it is the negative effects of workers not getting fair wages, not getting, I would say, livable wages, where they can't afford the necessary, or they don't live in certain areas, what Rev would say, in food apartheid areas. So in my journey, we've had to speak to different organizations. Like if we're talking to just people, everyday people, we have the conversation about livable wages. But anytime we start talking on college campuses, we want to make sure that the wages in Mississippi and in the South in general are competitive, so we can retain a lot of these good people that live in these states. But for the most part, I feel like if we can fix that, if we can fix and organize labor unions where the voice of the workers are heard, I feel like that is a great kickstart to fixing and solving a lot of the problems that are faced in the world today. So that's my story, and I'm also a part of Mississippi Rising Coalition. I'm the vice president. Thank you.
No, thank y'all. Hearing y'all stories, I had the pleasure of meeting y'all a couple of years ago in 2021, actually. And I had a huge organizational crush / movement crush on y'all, because y'all are talking about the work, y'all are doing the work, and it's just phenomenal. And so hearing y'all's stories, it just really, it adds a lot of depth to that knowledge as well. And I love how both of y'all's stories stem from the fact that both of y'all recognized, whether it be workers' rights, whether it be, medical rights and human rights, y'all recognize that the systems that we have in place aren't meeting the needs of a lot of people. And that's where mutual aid comes in. And so could y'all, starting with Morris and then going to Leah, could y'all tell us more about what is mutual aid for those who don't know, and how does it work as a solution? Because y'all brought up workers' rights, and we're talking about the health of people and access to food and everything. How does this work as a solution and to that, and also things like environmental injustice and climate change?
Well, first let me say that mutual aid is not a charity, right? I know some people feel like it is a charity, but as Leah put it in her explanation, it's a lot of things. We find ourselves meeting the needs of the people and whatever those needs are, and we aid them in whatever course of action, whatever it is that they need, the needs that are met. If it's food, if it's water, if it's, housing, we try to meet people where they are. And I feel like, building those relationships with different organizations, those different networks, it helped us. And I mean, it's pretty much, what was the other one? I'm sorry.
No, you're good. It's how does mutual aid tie into these massive issues like environmental injustice and climate change? Because you're talking about food and water, and I know that y'all do a lot of disaster work, for instance. So how does mutual aid and climate change kind of tie together is what I'm asking.
Oh, okay. Well, in Mississippi, a lot of times when, my daughter, and I can only give you personal stories that we've seen and we've experienced, not having water in Jackson, Mississippi, and using snow water to flush the commode. Not having food in certain areas, grocery stores closing down, and serving a need that is lacking in certain areas of the state. That's where, when it comes to climate change, we understand that even during Hurricane Katrina, when Hurricane Katrina happened, there was a need for electricity. There was a need for generators, solar generators, water, food. There was, even an educational component where even when I remember when a tornado happened on the coast, Leah, we all went shopping, and Leah was saying we need to get beef jerkies, and we need to get beef jerkies because we can make stuff with beef jerkies because that'll be our protein. It helps to have it helps to have a nurse on your team. So it's when it comes to, I think the main thing is education, educating the public on what their needs are and meeting them where they are. And because it seems to me, living in the Jackson, Mississippi area, every month there's some sort of disaster. Even last night, we had a comrade who lost electricity. It was lost electricity overnight, and it's over 100 degrees. So
that's life-threatening.
My God.
Yes, and has young children, young babies. So I mean, it appears, and we were up at we can't trust the system. We can't trust the energy companies because they said that the electricity was going to be on at a certain time. And he reached out to the networks, and we were sitting up there with Mississippi Rise and the coalition. And we were like, what do you need? What do we need to do? He had the solar generator. Let's help everyone who's been impacted. So we don't know when it's going to happen, but we just need to be prepared. And and we definitely let me add this. We definitely want to buy local. We also feel that if we support the people in our community, we buy local produce, that money and that funding stays in the state of Mississippi. We need to support those Black farmers that are growing produce, and we sell or grow or feed our communities with that. I think it's important that we support and we spend in our own communities as well, and that all helps with a circular economy and keeping our communities healthy. I hope I answered your question.
No, you did. You really did. And I think you touched a lot of different points there. I would love to hear more, Leah, if you can. I would love to hear more about like mutual aid when it comes to, how do I word this? Hold on. How do I word this? I may be putting the buggy in front of the horse here. I would just love to know more about mutual aid, especially in a Southern context, and especially in a way that y'all are doing it. You know what I mean? But also, because Morris did such a good job of explaining that. But please add whatever you want.
Yeah, could you say a little bit more about what you mean about a Southern context?
Yeah, like how is organizing in the South, like organizing mutual aid? Because, these things, they don't just come out of nowhere. Like it comes from people working together and crossing bridges, especially, if people don't agree with each other in communities. How does it work in this context in the South where like we are dealing with so many different oppressive systems?
Yeah.
To gain trust in communities and learn how to have community again. Does that make sense?
It does. I will say that when you are meeting folks' basic survival needs, right? When you're meeting folks' need for food, for water, for housing, for health care, transportation, when you're meeting these basic needs, some of these other barriers that are these I won't say artificial barriers, but these needless barriers like race, gender, religion, etc., they just kind of melt away. They don't matter anymore, right? And so when you're meeting folks' material survival needs, and we're not asking for anything in return, right? We're just here saying, we see you need this, take it. Let's have a conversation about why we find ourselves in these situations. Like, just being there and offering folks what they need is a bridge in and of itself. And that's sort of the on-ramp that we take in community a lot, to initiate conversations, deeper conversations, right? So for instance, we have been doing mutual aid consistently in one historically Black neighborhood in Hattiesburg, Mississippi called East Jerusalem. It is a predominantly Black, low-income community, a lot of elderly folks that have lived there for decades. a lot of back during the 50s and 60s, it was a flourishing Black neighborhood in Hattiesburg, but it was during segregation, right? Where Black folks kind of had their own economy within that segregated system. And then integration happened, and there's been a lot of deliberate disinvestment in the East Jerusalem community that has resulted in businesses leaving, neglect of water and sewer infrastructure, neglect of the roads, neglect of the sidewalks, a lack of access to public transportation. There's no public bus stop in this neighborhood. The last and only grocery store in that neighborhood closed during the pandemic because it couldn't survive anymore, because folks were quarantined and not going out to shop. So on top of all these other issues, it became a food desert. Mm-hmm. And so this is where we stepped in. We offered mutual aid in this neighborhood in the form of fresh produce and fresh food that we harvested off of a Black-owned farm in Hattiesburg. And so by us bringing produce and food to this neighborhood during the pandemic, that was a way for us to build community, build relationship, build trust, right? And 3 years later, we're still there organizing. We've been able to hire 2 organizers now in that neighborhood that are out canvassing, having conversations with folks on front porches about the infrastructure, about the lack of public transportation, about the lack of a grocery store. And there's been a neighborhood association now that's been formed, the East Jerusalem Neighborhood Association, where folks are now starting to organize themselves to address these issues, right? And so that's just one example of how mutual aid can be that door that opens to something larger, and longer term organizing that really addresses these systemic failures that led to the need for us to do mutual aid in the first place.
Thank you so much for riding that roller coaster with me, Leah, and understanding
that was what you were looking for. That's just like
it was
that came.
Yeah, it was. And I'll pass it to Marisha since she's on the edge of her seat.
Oh my gosh, you don't even know, Abby. So Leah, I kind of want you to expand a little bit more. So I've seen y'all in action. We went and we visited Mississippi earlier this summer, and their building got completely destroyed due to a storm that came in the night before. And they literally called on their community to come and help them fix up their building and all types of things. So to see that in action was just so crazy. When I tell you there was people like just coming in, we were out here sweeping up water. We were doing all types of things just to kind of bring their building back some type of life, some type of so that they could use the building throughout the day and throughout that week. How can we get to that point? Y'all are saying meeting these people where they're at, and yes, that's important. And honestly, the only way we can reach out to or get these people to even help us, even our community to help us, is to meet these people where they're at. How can we get a conversation started? Like just that beginning point, because it's hard to even just get the conversation going, especially when you don't look like the people that you're going to go talk to.
Yeah, you have to show up, and you have to keep showing up, right? It's you don't just go and give a tarp one time or produce one time, and then expect to have this foundation of trust and relationship that's been built. No, you keep showing up. You keep showing up, and you just build that relationship, get to know, ask questions, get to know them on a personal, individual level, know their name, know their family, just get to know them, right? Connect on a human to human level and keep coming back. And those conversations are going to happen. That door is going to open where you start to have these deeper conversations about like, shit, it's hard, man. You know, like, why is life so hard? You know, like, and that's your opening. That's your opening. You can have this conversation. And then from there, you know, you could make those conversations a little more strategic, right? And kind of lead it into organizing conversations and talking about having some community meetings. Like, we should get together, you know, we should get together and see if other folks are going through the same thing. And like, let's talk about it. Let's do a barbecue or something. And, you know, but you have to lay that foundation. You have to care, right? And you have to keep showing up.
Thanks, Leah. Morris, you want to add in? I see you.
Yeah, Leah has me laughing a little bit because when she said it is hard, I remember when I first joined Mississippi Rising and we were actually farming, and it was like, can you imagine outside farming and I don't know, the land of Dennis Damer, Vernon Damer, historic property, the Damer Farm. And we were out there growing produce, picking it and doing political education and educating the community. And, you know, sometimes you have to, there's no reward. You can't do this and expect someone to say thank you, to give you a hug, to do this. You're going to do it because this is something that you're passionate about doing. But when she said it was hard, I remember going out there picking okra. You remember that, Leah? Out there, okra, potatoes, and we were knocking on doors, trying our best to connect with these communities. And, you know, I'm talking like we had black, white, whatever, everyone, you know, gay, straight, everyone was out there and we were knocking on doors trying to connect with this community. And now we have some awesome relationships in those communities. So it definitely takes sacrifice.
Morris and I literally, we literally harvested corn on the farm one weekend, and I'm sure it was like 100-degree heat.
Yeah.
On the farm, and then went to East Jerusalem with all of this corn that we had just harvested from the farm and put it in a wagon and literally canvassed East Jerusalem.
Yes.
Pulling a wagon full of corn.
You do it
and just giving out corn to folks, right? Like, just saying, you want some? We harvested this today. We're giving it away, and we still have relationships with these folks today. Like, I can go to knock on Mr. Legron's door any day of the week and sit on his porch and talk to him for 20 minutes, and you know, then he'll come help us out at the community garden, which is right around the corner that we've established since then with the community. So like that's the way it started. That is the way it started. That's how it started.
Yeah.
That's real love right there. If you ask me, real love, dedication, passion, that's all of it.
Yeah.
So I guess this moves right on into the next topic. Abby, I'll let you lead this one in. Go ahead, girl. Take it on.
You know, I was actually just messaging you in the chat because, I mean, listeners, so here's the deal. We try to have questions that we want to make sure we ask our guests because they're experts, but sometimes the conversation kind of leads to a different direction. And so we can talk about food access, but I'm almost wondering if I can ask y'all more about almost like a one-on-one of how to start mutual aid in a community. You know what I mean? Or
in the South particularly, because we a little different down here, and y'all know how we get down.
You know, and I also want to point out that, like, I know, because Morris, you brought up in the very beginning that mutual aid is not charity. And I think Southerners, we're just such a proud people that unless you tell people it's free, they're literally not, you know what, at least in my experience, like we told people we were giving away things and like they would not accept it unless we said that we had too many things and we need them to take them. Like, I almost wonder that. And I also just wanted to flag, like, Morris, with you saying, like you said earlier, the experience of y'all's building being destroyed and then your community coming together to fix it is proof right there. Like that, it seems like it's not charity, but instead it's an investing in relationships. And so let's pretend listeners are trying to start it in their communities. How do you begin with this? And anybody can jump in.
Yeah. So if you're listening and you're an individual, and you just want to start practicing mutual aid in your neighborhood, what I would do is it doesn't really even have to be in your neighborhood, but I will say your community, whatever your community is, whether it's geographically, if it's your community, like right in your neighborhood, or if it's your friend community or an organizational community, decide who your community is, right? And then have a conversation about what is mutual aid and why it's necessary, and then get organized. So you can start what's called a mutual aid pod. So you might have a pod of, you might start with a pod of 3 people. So say like it's me, Morris, and Abigail. We're starting a mutual aid pod. And so me, Abigail, and Morris each reach out to our respective circles and have conversations about mutual aid, and that we want to start a mutual aid network. We kind of start our own little pods, right? And you get to know who's in your pod, what their needs are, and you get organized. I mean, just start having regular community meetings. Decide who's gonna check on who's gonna take so-and-so to the doctor next week if their need is transportation. Somebody else's need is help with food security. Okay, how are we gonna get the food? What food do we need? How much do we need? Just start small and then expand from there. If you're an organization that wants to start mutual aid, I would really just kind of start incorporating mutual aid into what you're already doing, in the communities that you're already organizing in and organizing with. Network with your partner organizations. See if they're interested in being mutual aid partners. I don't, Morris, you might be able to answer this a little bit more, a little better.
Yeah. Well, the only thing that, and this is through experience, the number one rule is you are not the leader. Mm-hmm. You're always going to be led by the community.
Yeah.
All right. So you need to make sure that you have, this goes for people who have organizations, or just people who you have to understand the needs, the needs of the community that you're serving, because you may think you know, and a lot of times, sometimes it doesn't. Like especially when it comes to food apartheid. It's certain communities that just doesn't, that we don't eat certain foods, right? And you can sit here and grow food that people what was that? A guy told me, he said, man, we don't eat. One guy said, I don't eat okra. And I was like, man, there's no need in canvassing this neighborhood because a lot of us don't eat okra. So you have to actually understand the needs and the wants of the communities that you serve. And I think that's number one. That's the most important. And then finding out the strengths and the weaknesses of those community members. So once you learn, and the main thing I think the number one thing is you're being led by the community and you're assisting the community on what they need, right? Because even in Hattiesburg, I think the number one question that we were asking is, hey, what do you need? Do you want this produce? And we found out Hattiesburg has an amazing history of you had a lot of Black soldiers who couldn't shop certain places and they couldn't live in certain places. And they had a lot of houses within that area that served the Black soldiers. So I think that, just finding out a lot of the history of the community and just educating yourself on the community, that's a great start.
Yeah, I agree.
So this has been a great episode thus far, and I hate to let y'all go, but before I let you go, I do want to ask you one last question. This is a question that we ask all of our guests, and we're going to ask it to you as well. What brings you hope? What brings you hope to keep going, to keep fighting this good old fight in the climate justice space? And is there any final words that you would like to leave with us?
What gives me hope is just connecting with just regular people on a daily basis, just connecting and being able to share our common struggles, our common, hopes and dreams together, being able to just share time and humanity with folks, that gives me hope. Sometimes we can get so caught up in what we're fighting, because we're fighting Goliaths a lot of the time. So what brings me hope is just connecting with people, because at the end of the day, that's really what all this is about, is humanity and doing what we can do with the time that we have here to make the world a better place. So that's what brings me hope.
What about you, Morris? You gotta close us off, man.
Yeah, wow. Hope. And it's, I'm getting a little emotional when you say hope. Leah, the sacrifices that everyone have made in this movement work. You have people who are just doing it because they just love people. And it motivates me to do more. Like even Mr. Dennis Damer donating his land so we can give, and he donated his time and his property so we can farm and canvass neighborhoods, and we didn't have to pay for that. And Leah donated her time. Everyone just donated their time, and people helping people. Even right now, you all allowing us to tell our stories and tell our journey that we've been on. It gives us hope that hopefully that we can reach someone. All of this in our life and in my life, it's inspiring. I just love how just being with people who are doing things for people and they're not asking for anything in return. And that's an amazing, I am probably the happiest I've ever been in my life, because I'm around genuine people who really love others, and they're doing it for the love of people and humanity. So I really appreciate you all for having us on this podcast.
Amazon Delivery Service Partners are hiring full-time delivery drivers to meet growing customer demand. Receive compensation of at least $20 per hour at select stations, plus benefits and a sign-on bonus of $2,000 from participating DSPs if you apply now. No delivery experience required. Must be 21 years or older. Terms apply. Apply today at Amazon.com/driver. That's Amazon.com/driver.
Lucky Land Casino, asking people, what's the weirdest place you've gotten lucky?
Lucky? In line at the deli, I guess?
Aha, in my dentist's office. More than once, actually.
Do I have to say?
Yes, you do.
In the car before my kids' PTA meeting.
Really?
Yes.
Excuse me, what's the weirdest place you've gotten lucky?
I never win and tell.
Well, there you have it. You can get lucky anywhere, playing at LuckyLandSlots.com. Play for free right now. Are you feeling lucky? No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.